Next question is from Stephen Bogert regarding spending. Mr. Bogert?
Yes. In the State of the Union address, the President, I think, did mention he was going to freeze domestic spending and trying to appease everybody looking for spending cuts, or at least stagnant. My question is, how come no one ever addresses the foreign aid that we give all the other countries in the world, where we could take that money then and use it to help us domestically, as in the case of NASA, where we're cutting the NASA program, which is a very peaceful program that has brought our country to be in the forefront in a peaceful manner, and we're now going to cut the budget and stop the space program pretty much, and lay off a bunch of professional engineers in the interim, and yet pay a communist country to shuttle our people up and supply stuff to the space station that we put in space. It's a two-part question.
Sure. The President in his State of the Union did say that he wanted to freeze domestic discretionary spending, which is roughly 12% of the budget. The two concerns I have with that from a practical perspective is that the spending in that area has been raised over a period of time far more than that freeze is going to save. So let me give you an example. As a mayor, and I'm sort of putting my mayoral hat on, I would ask for, on a weekly basis, revenue projections, expense projections, what our employee count was by department or agency, what the cost per employee was when you break it down through salary and benefits, and then what the attrition rate was. Because one of the most effective ways to reduce the cost is through the attrition rate, where you don't have to necessarily lay someone off, so you're not impacting that family, but looking at that position when someone leaves and see if you can fill it with existing personnel, or job share with another department, or have an opportunity to merge departments and find efficiencies. It was interesting when I asked that question in Washington, here's the things that I need, I got kind of blank stares. It surprised me. This is what we have to change about Washington. There needs to be ownership and accountability by those who are crafting budgets and running departments. Because I think there is a sensible way to reduce your spending and get it back in line with your revenues. And you can do that if you've got someone who is consistently looking at those budget numbers and trying to figure out the mission of the department. The Spending Reduction Act, which is proposed by Congressman Jim Jordan maybe a week and a half ago, attempts to include some reductions in foreign aid. So far, what I can tell you about foreign aid is obviously there are diplomatic reasons that we are helping other nations, but I think it's going to get a very serious look, like everything is going to get a serious look. Now, I've always believed in prioritizing. I think we all do that at home in our businesses. We expect our municipalities and our state to prioritize its spending decisions, and we should be doing the same thing at the federal level. But this is absolutely going to be an area through the budget process, as well as in other committees, that you'll likely see reductions in foreign aid. And it is part of the Spending Reduction Act of 2011. It's a proposal that cuts $2.5 trillion of spending over 10 years. Now, I'm reviewing that to see what the impacts of it would be if it were to pass as it's currently written, to see what the impacts are in New Hampshire and to the country. When you sign on to a piece of legislation on day one, it's likely going to change, but I believe that we have to reduce spending, so this is potentially one vehicle with which we can do that. Now, there'll be something in that piece of legislation that somebody does not want cut. There's no question about it. But we need to reform our spending to be in line with our revenues. And that's the way I prefer to look at it. Right now we're spending $1.5 trillion a year over and above what we're taking in. So again, if we can get to that roughly $100 billion a month in savings, we can get roughly into balance. And in terms of a balanced budget, the other piece of legislation I intend on signing, co-sponsoring, is the balanced budget amendment. I do believe that we've got to adhere to tough spending decisions and requirements. We have it in our homes. We have it in the city of Manchester. I had to adhere as a mayor. I think we should adhere to it as members of Congress. But it does mean tough decisions. It does mean that we have to have this discussion with the country about where are we going to reduce our spending. But I think that we've been, you know, as a nation on a spending binge. And it's finally caught up with us, and now we've got to make the decisions on how we get back to sort of more realistic spending levels. And again, I think the President has suggested in his State of the Union that he's interested in it. I've talked to members of Congress on both sides of the aisle who want to focus on that. It's just a matter of how we get there and how much can we agree, what is the percentage of legislation that we can agree on, and that's where I think our focus should be, and I hope that's where it's going to be, so we can, you know, have results. I don't think that anybody in this country wants to see gridlock for another 2 years. I think they want to see results.